So this is the largest monster manual the game has ever had. Over 500 monsters in it. And that includes not only many of the classic foes that people expect to face in D&D, but also many creatures that could serve as allies. We have rebuilt every monster that was in the 2014 Monster Manual, striving to make it as fun as it can be, make sure it's as scary as it should be for its challenge rating. But then we've also added a bunch of new monsters. There are over 75 new monsters in this book, and many of the new monsters fill in families of monsters that already existed. Great example. The game already, of course, had vampires in it and multiple types. Well, there are even more types now.
You know that would please you, Tom.
Yes. And the additional vampire types are there because when we have looked at each of the major families of monsters, we've wanted to make sure that there were opportunities for groups to encounter that family of monster
without getting murdered right away?
Maybe sooner than they could before.
Yeah.
But also in some cases, we also wanted there to be higher CR versions of some of these families of monsters.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's a new low CR vampire, which is a vampire that is still partly mortal in the process of becoming a full vampire. But then on the other end, we have a new vampire that is more powerful than the sort of apex vampire that we had in the 2014 Monster Manual. We've also fleshed out many of the families of NPCs that existed in 2014. We wanted to make sure that those NPC groups remained relevant for more of a campaign, particularly because we know that DMs used the heck out of those NPC stat blocks that were in 2014. And so in addition to expanding out some of those NPC groups, whether it's bandits or priests or mages, we've also created new groups. So there's now a group of performers, there's now a group of pirates, and so on, because we want to make this book the indispensable tool for DMs as they're preparing adventures and campaigns to go to this book for inspiration, to be inspired by the art, by the stat blocks, by the story text, as they're creating their adventures, but then also to have a whole bunch of stat blocks that are super easy to use at the table when initiative is rolled and the DM can unleash a whole bunch of surprises.
Because there's been a little bit of extra added to them. And the art is also stunning. I've seen some of the art that's been coming in, and that is stunning as well. And
Almost all the art in the book is new.
that's perfect.
Yes,
That's
it's
a
beautiful.
lot of art.
It's glorious.
Yes.
Yes. One of the key things that we paid attention to was making sure that if it's a pre-existing monster, its challenge rating stayed the same. And that was a necessity for us because we want to make sure that the monsters are all compatible with our previous 5th edition adventures. But we knew, based on extensive playtesting and 10 years of experience, that not all the monsters were hitting their CR exactly right. So that gave us room to make some fun adjustments.
Yeah, and so there will be many monsters, particularly at the higher CRs, that are going to be far more terrifying than they were before. We also, in the Monster Manual, have created Apex versions of certain creature types that didn't have an Apex version before. Some of our creature types, dragons and giants being prime examples, along with our fiends, have long had really high CR, iconic examples of those creature types. We also, of course, have the Tarrasque as the apex monstrosity, but we have some other creature types that were missing a monster at that high level of difficulty, and so we have filled those gaps in the new Monster Manual. So that now means we have, in the construct category, we have a colossus that can just trample cities. In the ooze category, we have the blob of annihilation.
Yes.
That can dissolve entire towns worth of people into it. I mean, a total horror. We now have an arch hag in the Fey category that can strike true terror into high-level groups, cackling while doing it. Even the elemental category, it's interesting. Elementals, that's one of the most classic monster categories, but it too was actually missing a monster at the sort of Tarrasque tier, and it now has one in the form of the elemental juggernaut.
The New Player's Handbook is available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond. You can find that link in the video description. And you can also find the new Core Rulebooks bundle for pre-order, both physical and digital. Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video content coming out about the New Player's Handbook and all the new Core Rulebooks, the new Monster Manual, the new Dungeon Master's Guide. So be sure to check out all of that content. And thank you for watching.